And we are live. That's actually very, very good. Hello, everyone. What's going on? It's your boy Izzo33. I'm just quickly checking something, so apologies. There we go. Live. That's actually... Okay, sorry. I was just checking that. So today, we're going to be going over a best of one between Koi and Vitality. So I'm just going to switch over to the correct screen. Not that one. It is this one. And my webcam turned off. Nice. So once I get that back up, come on, there we go. Back on the screen we go. I'm actually gonna just move myself over because I'm a bit more comfortable here today. How is everyone doing? Is a good question to be asking right now. Yeah, okay. So, without further ado, I'm going to be getting into what could be described as fun for all. As essentially, we're going to be going into this series. I call it a series even though I know it's just a game, but this is going to be an interesting game to say the least, because Vitality did make that substitution that was kind of rumoured when I did my predictions, and it's going to be interesting to talk about it, as a lot of different things have kind of made this a bit more interesting. So we'll skip ahead to here and into the light show. So, Koi, Vitality, at the start of the day, sitting near the bottom of the table, and, you know, it should be known that Vitality made this substitution so that they can try to make groups, try to get as many championship points as possible, because bear in mind, your championship points put you higher or lower seeding into the season finals. So here, we should be kind of focusing in on how these two teams would like to play. Now, Koi have been interesting to me, this split, because Maorang, his jungling has been very interesting in what he's been playing. He's been a bit more experimental with his pool, because in spring, he was kind of shoehorned into Jarvan a lot. And that's obviously not the best, because it's not a high tier champion. In this split, we've seen more expression from him. A Nocturne's come out from one of the games. He's played Vi, he's played some other picks. I don't remember them off the top of my head. But anyway, let's look at the draft so far. The main things to note is Koi are banning out the super strong supports in Milio and Yuumi. And that's kind of something that I've noticed a bit more as this split has gone on. It's if Heretics banned out one of these supports, then they would technically force Koi to ban the other. However, Heretics not banning either kind of shows Koi's hand a lot more, and their comfort with these picks. So the fact that Koi have banned both Milio and Yuumi really does showcase some maybe discomfort with both these picks that Koi have, and I think that's something that I've noticed with Koi over the years, is there not very much comfort with certain champions. Like, I think they've always struggled with Yuumi as a pick. Like, it's something that... So my brain's... If I'm Koi, in terms when they were back as Row, they struggled picking certain champions, and I think it's because they knew they were meta, but they felt they were too strong to get play in terms of regular split, and I think that has kind of caused them to think about banning them more so often than not, because they've always done this thing where they get shoehorned on certain picks and can't actually take them. Now, as for Vitality, their bans are a bit more... I mean, it's a bit more interesting to me. So Vi is kind of that first ban that everyone tends to go for. I think it's more of a red side ban, though, than a blue side. Sedge, another Malrang ban. But Malrang, I don't think has played Sedge this split. In fact, I'm intrigued by this, so GOL, take me away. We're going to look at Malrang's pick ban. Where's the LEC? Either I'm blind... Well, that's the EMA Masters. I'm blind. Where's the LEC? I pressed the button. LEC. There, refresh, boom. LEC Summer. We're gonna look at player stats. We're gonna look in the jungle. Yeah, I figured he'd be quite low on kills. So this split, his champion pool, he hasn't played more than one game on a single champion. And that's kind of interesting to me because you would have thought you'd find comfort on certain picks. Like, don't get me wrong, not all of them have worked. Like, they've worked less than they have won. And that's kind of an imposing stat. One of his wins was Sedge. Vi is just a comfort pick for all junglers, so that gets banned out. So yeah, it does make sense to ban it. So it would have either been banning the Jarvan or the Sedge at the time. And I guess Sejuani getting banned out is because of its bulkiness. Oh, his best KDA was on the champ, I feel bad. Let's have a look at something real quick. Through the entirety of the year, what has been his champion pool size? His Jarvan is his most played. Kind of surprising. His Trundle's up there, but not the best win rate. I mean, he's played Rumble Jungle. This man is unhinged. I mean, winter groups, he didn't play. He lost. This man's champ pool is insane. And I mean, you look at it. Elise and Sedge. And then the winter group stage, he won every game that he jungled in. What? That tells you something, doesn't it? These are his big picks. He kind of comforts towards that Sedge, so it makes sense for the Vitality to ban it now a bit more. But the last ban to Kennen, I mean, you now... So, realistically speaking, you have to look at the entirety of the Koi setup. They do like to team fight, and so banning a very big AoE stunning ultimate champion from the top lane is kind of nice. However, there are obviously a lot of OPs left up and available to either side. So, Koi, their last ban is going to be on, I forget, maybe a bot lane ban. Xayah, yeah, there you go. So you remove safety out the bot lane. So ADC is left up and available. Aphelios, Zeri, Lucian technically, but Aphelios is a comfort for comp, so he locks that in. And they're also locking in the Lulu. I'm a bit surprised because week 2, we see, or saw, a lot of bans towards the mid lane. the fact that Nico, Annie, LeBlanc, all up and available to these two teams is a bit of a shock to me because we've seen them banned nearly every game. Now, Vitality's draft so far. A lot of bulk and bruisery frontliners, and we're going to be seeing Douglas on his Maokai for the opening game. Arguably the second strongest jungler at the moment, behind the Vi, that just seems to not get banned. It would make sense for it to be banned, but you can kind of notice something from Koi. They're not prefacing their jungle. You think the fact that they've allowed it to slip so far means that Malrang's comfortable playing whatever. We just saw his champion pool being a massive ocean, and you think, what can Heretics ban here? They can ban a Nocturne, which I don't think would be good until this Vitality comp anyway. They can ban Viego. I mean, he doesn't play it that much. Lee Sin also could be banned. But I expect Vitality to remove jungle picks here just to force Malrang further and further down the totem pole. Now, Koi rounded out their drafting phase, answering the Azir with the static Shiv LeBlanc. This is the first time I think we're seeing the LeBlanc for Larson in terms of static Shiv. But we've seen his LeBlanc kind of come out during the Rogue season win that they did in summer last year. His LeBlanc was very, very strong and did a lot of work in them games. So the fact that it's come out here and now is a nice sort of good feeling, because that pick actually did good, even though it was surprising to see it from Larson. Now, bans Poppy, I like it. You kind of negate, it would kind of negate all three of the champions on Vitality's side from getting in. Because bear in mind, this is kind of a dive comp Vitality you're going for here. You get onto the backline, you get onto the Aphelios with the Twisted Advance, the Slice and Dice, and the Shriemer Shuffle to get into the backside and do work. And there goes the Jarvan, so we're down to a very small pool of picks for Malrang. Obviously Nocturne is up, Lee Sin is up, you've also got the pick we know that's going to come through in the Trundle, as well as some other things. So I don't know if Vitality taking Malrang further and further down the totem pole was the most useful of plays. Because you think about it, this Trundle is going to have fun with the Maokai in terms of being bulky frontliners. And what Koi can do against Vitality is very interesting. Essentially, Koi's lineup can disengage very effectively from this dive comp that Vitality have, and essentially they just put up the pillar to stop advances forward. You've got the Lulu there to speed up the AD carry, to keep Aphelios away, as well as Polymorph to just negate people getting onto comp. And as for the rest of this Koi comp, you've got a lot of trading power with the LeBlanc, able to fire down a lot of damage and poke and harass at before Heretics can... Heretics, I've done it again. God damn it. But you can stop any sort of advances with the poke and harass that LeBlanc and Gnar can throw out in mini form, and just slow and mitigate what Vitality want to do. Now, as we are looking to get into game, there's been a sort of a story for this year, in particular for Koi, or this split more so than ever, is they tend to get early leads and then throw late game. It's used to be a thing called Rogue Time. It's now the Koi Time. I don't have a better name for it. But basically, you get to mid game and they throw. They seem to lose all comprehension of how to play League of Legends. And that's kind of a sad thing to say, considering they should be very good at the game. Now, I've spoke about this all year long since MSI, I should probably say, not all year long, but the cool. It's an item that I started noticing a lot more during MSI, and it's finally reared its head in the LEC this week, with Comp picking it up on the Aphelios. Now, relatively speaking, Zeri Soraka is a weird lane, because Soraka doesn't provide that same sort of trading power Alulu does in the early game. So, relatively speaking, Koi should get early push in that lane, and a lot of harassment down, to essentially get them an early advantage down the bot lane. So the fact that trading power will always favor Koi early means that a Cull is a very good buy, because it gets them the sort of scaling that you need on the Aphelios to reach your first item. Bear in mind, the extra gold this item gives you is very, very powerful. So, standard starts as a whole from the junglers, not going to be splitting maps here, but both starting on the bottom half of the map. This kind of means that they're probably going to be heading up to the top lane, where Shigenda and Photon probably going to see a bit of action. Now, what we can see right now on the graph is Vitality. Yeah, bit of a dumpster fire right now, considering they're dead last. And they did well in winter and spring. But here in summer, it's a completely different story, as the team just hasn't looked good enough to compete. So, as we take stock of the jungle pathing early, essentially what we are seeing is the standard full clears, and this is something Marang has kind of come used to this split, I would say. It's full clear into level 3 gank on mid. That's something he's done all year long. He did it on his Sejuani level 3 ganking, we saw it last week. And I don't think he's going to be able to do that today, purely because of how effective LeBlanc is playing into the Azir. Just constant harassment forced under tower 3 minutes into the game. This is huge. It's also interesting to see the ruins that Larsen's running, because it's precision tree with the green tree as well, because he has demolish on that LeBlanc, which kind of makes you think, how do Koi want to play this game? And the first thing that comes to mind is they're not going for that traditional team fighting style that they're used to. The way it looks to me is they're probably gonna look to get to mid game and split push with Larsen. Because bear in mind, it's a static Shiv LeBlanc. If you've got fleet footwork, it's definitely going to be static Shiv. Now, what we just saw there was Marang playing very aggressive into his opponent. Also, I should point out, it's also fleet footwork for Naso. The point of split pushing, this is definitely a split push comp from Koi. Just based off of those two sets of ruins. Actually, I just realized it's fleet footwork across the board for Koi. That's interesting. Anyway, essentially what we've learnt here is Koi basically just want to split push. You've got a static Shiv LeBlanc that can just poke and harass the target away from the turret, which we've already been seeing Larsen do with how his trade pattern has been so far. Perks has been kept down in terms of his CSs. as he's already starting to fall behind. Now, this is an interesting stat. Koi tend to have a lead at 40 minutes. They tend to be losing the rest of the game past that at 25. It's kind of surprising because you think you win lane, you win game. That's kind of not been the story for Koi this split. And one thing that they've kind of been doing is focusing early Drakes, giving up early Heralds, and then just allowing essentially the opponents to get pressure onto the map, to get lanes into a bit more of a stable position, because Koi tend to dominate the early game in that regard, but the fact that these turrets go over to the opposition means that they stay relevant in the game. And in other regards, if they do get beaten early game, they tend to just fall apart. You look at topside, and when Irrelevant took on Shigenda got put behind very, very quick and very, very far back. And that essentially meant he was out of the game. And Koi didn't really invest anything into getting him into a more stable position. So, and this is also bearing the fact that Shigenda is not like Odoamne, who Marang was jungling for last year. Shigenda is more of a carry top player. He wants to get himself ahead, as that's a lovely trade out from Larson. Essentially, he wants to just be doing a lot of work, bullying the opponent, as well as just being a threat in teamfights. That's how he's always been as a player, back to when he was on Vitality for that one split. And so here, the fact that Koi you can't index into top lane. This is the thing about the current meta. Top lane has always been known as an island, and you can't win games through top. And while teams have done that in the past, like G2 technically did it in winter with Broken Blade carrying them through to groups, you can't do that anymore. Now, this is a very interesting jungle already from Malrang. He's stealing away camps that are quite impactful in terms of the buffs. And this is something I like from how Marang's been playing this split, is he is technically stealing away camps a lot more than what other junglers are doing. He does get punished quite a bit, don't get me wrong, he does get caught out, but he does do a lot of work in exposing weaknesses from the opponents. And I'm not saying Douglas is the weakness for Vitality, but what I am saying is Douglas is very new to the roster, and so they may not be used to how he plays as much as what other teams are used to playing with the rest of their lineup. There's not the same cohesion. It's not fully built up. And this Vitality roster may struggle in that regard. So, Herald gets picked up here, and I want to be honest, we'll probably see something later into the game that highlights that Douglas is on a different mindset to the rest of Vitality, for the better in some regards. But hey, here we go. Getting into the top side, we were starting to discuss about the differences in top, and Shigenda is a carry top, as I've just said, but Malrang was used to playing with Odoamne. Odo is the weak side king, meaning you can leave top in isolation and it'll be fine. Odo will play fine. We've seen it all year already for what XL have been doing. Odo sits on his own and does work. That's huge, because it means that Malrang only needs to focus on mid and bot to get advantages there. And so this split with Shigenda coming in, the fact is, Shigenda is used to having someone feed him an advantage. He's not a weak side top player. He is more so the carry top. So he likes to go aggressive on opponents and do work. So the fact is, Shigenda has kind of either had to learn a new style, or Marang would have had to have invested more of his precious time into top. And so the fact is, Koya essentially trying to play the same style that won them the league, but with a completely different stylized top laner. And that has kind of led them into situations where they're not doing as good. And while individual players like Larson has stepped up, as you can see by them stats. Oh, that's a lovely wild growth out. But Zeri is free firing in. Flash out, yeah. It's just a 3v2. Marang gets to live because he's equinoxed up on the Maokai. Yeah. It was essentially a nothing trade where Flash from Lulu was burnt for one summoner on Zeri. I mean, it's favorable in some regard because it supports sums for ADC sums, but it's not the best. Anyway, mid lane, items are already coming through for a lot of players right now. As top, Shigenda's going to get away with his life. Mid, Larson's just clean, forcing flash out. Great play. The reason Perks was forced to flash there was because essentially, oh, this is actually huge. So I'm going to go back a few seconds. So Koya taking second rate, that's fine. They're going to get that free. Mid, Larson's trading into Perks. Now, Perks has technically just TP'd back to lane. So Larson wants to punish that and kind of keep him in lane as long as possible while just chunking him out. We were starting to talk about items and mythics coming through as well as first items in some regards. Static Shiv is already in the pocket of Larson. So this trade is going to hurt a lot more as the autos come through. And while the Static Shiv proc hasn't happened, essentially Larson plays very well here. He sidesteps the wall, just doesn't get pushed back, which means Perks is in a difficult situation here, because if I'm pretty sure he'd live still, but if Larson autos a minion, Static Shiv line being there means that Perks would take a lot of damage, and Distort forward from Larson would very easily kill him. Because, watch, Distort's up, there's the Static Shiv, Distort is now, yeah, that would have been copy actually, that was Mimic Distort, so that was a lot of damage, just sat there ready to be fired out if Perks didn't flash. So this is a good play for Larson because he needs to get more mid-prio, he denies a lot of CS here. He does have Demolish, which he's not going to be able to get off because Douglas has showed his face in mid. And that's kind of allowed Perks to stay to clear the wave. But yeah, Perks now is going to get healed up by Soraka. This is Vitality reacting well to Larson getting very aggressive onto Perks. The fact that Kaiser's come mid, using his W to heal up Perks, as well as having Douglas kind of hover around lane, show his face to Larson, means A, LeBlanc has to back up to safety, and B, Perks gets to stay in lane due to being topped up in terms of health. That's kind of a good reaction from Vitality to a losing play, essentially. Because now, bot side, Comp just gets to freely chunk away a tier 1, and Larson still does as well, but it's not as bad as it could have been in some regards. So Vitality doing well to kind of stem a blood loss. And Koi already doing well to get themselves a 2k gold lead off of just lane dominance. Now, the fact that Larsen's getting turret pressure put down, he's able to roam about a bit, get himself some wards and vision into the top side jungle. And that also means that Photon has to play a bit more safe, because LeBlanc is in the jungle he's nearest to, could quite easily dash over the wall and threaten the kill. Similarly, so could Maurang on his Trundle. So Photon had to play a bit safer there, which means that more turret plates go over to Koi, and this is just good map maneuvering by the squad on the red side. It's just very effective and efficient league to kind of maximize the plates that they get in the last few seconds. And some teams probably wouldn't recognize it, but just look at the plates right now. You got 0 plates on Vitality side, 6 on Koi's, and I'm pretty sure 3 or 4 of them came off that last minute. Anyway, we're going to see a play here at top side. That's going to be the Dominus procced. It's just healing from Soraka as well, who ticked over. First blood, hits twice. Soraka has been level 6 for a while, okay. Bit interesting there. I didn't really expect Kaiser to be level 6 because he had been roaming a bit. But yeah, going to be 2 kills over to Vitality. Larsen does make his roam up. Perks was on his way, so he didn't stay in lane. So it does mean that Koi lose out on top side quite heavily. But mid and bot lane still very, very strong. And this is yet again another Herald going over to Vitality. Koi tend to not favour these, is what we're seeing. And that's kind of... didn't mean to bring up my Professor. Whoopsie. Meant to bring that up. But yeah, Koi essentially in a weird situation, shall we say. Because top side's now in a bit of a disadvantage, but bot side hasn't really done much. And so this is the interesting thing. TP comes through from Photon. He's just wanting to clear the big stack of minions gonna crash into his turret, which would have been denied from him. So he's doing this quite quickly to clear up the wave. Obvious and expected kind of response, considering there's nothing on the map other than Herald to kind of fight for, so TP can be burnt like this. What we're also seeing though is a roam coming out from Maurang, but Douglas is right near as well, so the thing is, topside's always going to be fought over. And so Gnar goes forward, he gets the Mega Gnar back, Dominus is procced, but this ulti is so annoying to deal with. The fact is, they both get rooted, which means they're stuck in position, which also means Douglas can get in and turn the fight. And then you forget the amount of healing Renekton can do off of 2 people with a Gull and Meek. It's very powerful in that regard. You've also then got Soraka heals on top of it due to her wish. And it's a dead Shigenda off of that play. The latest first blood in the LEC this year. And Koi's still a winning. Giving over 2 kills. Doesn't really matter if you're just killing 2 turrets for free. And that's an issue for Mad, as Larsen's now a full killing off minions in the back line with just 1 static shift with proc. Nothing else needs to be said there other than Koi are just ballooning tempo, and that's actually a question. Where did the first Herald get dropped? I presume it was top. Anyway, Larsen's come up for this top dive this time. It means that Renekton gets shut down. Bear in mind, he got both kills off that play. But now, Koi are played very well here. They cross-map the cross-map. Essentially, Herald got dropped bot, so Koi make a play top. Photon should have expected it, but he still gets punished for it. And now Koi, because they got the kill topside, are able to get probably the tier 1 top as well. And they still keep tempo in this game. And that's a huge thing, as Perk's going to take a lot of chunk damage there from Larsen. This tier 1 in topside, not long for this world. Because once Shigenda goes mini, he's probably going to kill us off. May not even need to be mini to kill it. Yeah, he does. I got it right. Even though it doesn't really affect it. Anyway, Drake, number 3. Cloud Soul is what these two teams are fighting for. And Cloud Soul, honestly, isn't the biggest of souls for either team. It's probably one of the weakest. This fight, it gets stolen. And then just Koi disengage. Flash from Trundle. Yeah, they can't fight this. This is good play by Koi, even though they lose the Drake. So, how do Koi stop the Drake steal? That's what we need to look at here. So where is Douglas? He's here. Larsen's here. So Larsen's straight into Perks, forcing him backwards to stop it. This ulti, I hate. Purely because it provides so much space. It's why Maokai is so prevalent in League. It's not for his damage. It's not for his tankiness. It's for this ultimate. And the saplings. Essentially what he does is provide control over areas. That's as simple and as easy as you can explain it. So the fact is, Koi all have to back up because this all comes through. Maorang is smart and he stays in the pit and roots himself. But Douglas has been afforded so much space. He's able to walk up, smite. The Q was a bit not needed, but he gets himself the Drake for free without having to invest. Now, Vitality want to fight this. You've got a Renekton with kills on the flank who can quite easily get onto the Lulu. Probably get Polymorph for it, but would threaten her life. You've got Douglas who can step forward with the Twisted Events onto a lot of targets here. This is all looking like a promising fight for Vitality. However, Koi group up into this ball and do something that I love. Whenever we break down team fights, say this fight didn't need to happen. Koi disengage. What do they waste? Two summoners, a flash on the Trundle, and a TP. They get out with their lives. Yes, they don't get the Drake, but they still have map control. Topside's pushing in for them. Mid lane is kind of in an even state, but once Koi get back to it, they're just gonna do fine. And Vitality just want to fight. That's where they're at the current stage of the game. You look at their builds, all on one item, but the one items picked up for Vitality are a lot more impactful in terms of team fighting. Zeri with the Trinity Force just will do tons of damage. I hate to use the pun, but I did. And Aphelios, while will do a lot of damage, he's looking to more so execute off targets with that Gale Force. And he wants to afford space that he probably won't get in that fight due to how Vitality had set up to fight them. Because Renekton on the backside would have very easily jumped onto him or Lulu. And as such, the fact that Koi get out scot-free is very, very good for them. Because now they just get to scale up a bit more effectively. So here, yeah, it's just simple. The pillar does work in this keeping him away. Ooh. Maybe if Comp actually stayed onto the Drake, that could have been a kill onto that. Anyway, we're going to advance forward a little bit to the fight. I'm going to take a drink. I've been talking for a long time. And back onto the riff we go. So, as things stand, 2k gold lead still over to Koi. That's mainly down to the standing turrets killed. Simple as. They've not been really getting kills. But CSD differences are huge in mid. Larson has just been a farming machine. And I think if it weren't for the fact that Koi are technically in 7th, 8th. They're not in 8th. But the fact is, they're on the edge of playoffs. I think Larson has a shout for being MVP. He's been probably the best performing player on Koi this entire year. And it's not been close with how well he's been playing against his opponents. I would say probably Yankos and members of Heretics have had a better split so far. But when we get into playoffs, I'm going to be intrigued to see if Koi will have the same strength Larson as they've had all split. Or if... because I really want to see Heretics versus Koi. That's a matchup I want to watch in playoffs. Not for any specific reason, but Koi are one of the only teams to beat Heretics, I believe. And that's a huge milestone. Considering the fact Heretics have been performing very well, I think I would love to just break that series down. If we get it, who knows? But yeah, this game so far, it's essentially becoming a Larson show. And the fact is, right now, you look at the vision Koi have kind of afforded him is huge. And this is nice and interesting. So what we've just seen is Vitality. Okay, I'm going back a few seconds. Vitality are going for a double play. What this essentially means is you're making a play on both sides of the map. Because Koi are in resets, especially Diaphelios is back in base. So the response from Koi will be lacking in comparison to what Vitality can do. So they can overload both sides of the map. Regardless, they're always going to have a numbers advantage. So what they end up doing is Azir coming up here, and just look at the vision that Koi have tried to set up for Larson. They've got one ward that is very impactful because it means Larson won't get caught out. So here comes Mao. They've also got that one. There's not really any pathway for Vitality to threaten this LeBlanc. So the fact that Lulu spots Maokai, presumably, is one big thing. You've also noticed Kaiser's Soraka walking up here. Soraka wouldn't be walking this pathway if there wasn't someone else there threatening. It just doesn't make sense to be walking this close to a LeBlanc who can burst you out quite quickly. That's the logic there. But yeah, that's 3 members top side. So Shigenda thinks, oh, there's 3 top, I can play a bit more aggressive. Incorrect. That ward there spots upset, meaning Shigenda has to run for his life. Flash is burnt, but he gets away safely, because you just can't chase down the Gnar once he starts hitting the boomerangs as well as megaing out. Now Koi have done well in responding to the players. Did the Gale Force land? That's interesting. So, I know that Comp has Gale Force here, I just want to see if it lands. It does. Okay, I didn't see him use it straight after the ult. But it's a good combo out onto the Soraka. But imagine that burst, but from the LeBlanc instead. That would have been... Who has now got Knight Armor? So yeah, that would have been a dead Kaiser. Anyway. Koi, now that they've sniffed out them 2 plays, just get to invade the top side jungle. Because Vitality overloaded both sides of the map means that that side, at top side, Koi can just invest everyone in there to secure vision, get Larson a bit more safety, and that's a lot of work. Or CS being denied. Photon's not going to enjoy that. Anyway, Douglas gets spotted out here. So Larson backs up. And he just gets to essentially play safe here. 21 minutes into the game. Gold, it's not even, but it feels even in terms of the game state. We are seeing a LeBlanc be threatening. That's the main issue for Vitality right now, is Larson. Split pushing on sides. What, you can't really threaten him because Koi are playing very well with vision. Not allowing any way in for him. And so, with Drake spawning in 20 seconds, Koi might honestly just give this one up. However, the fact that Larson is in base TPing to this means Koi want to fight. Koi have set up for this play. Larson's coming around to poke and harass. Finally rejoined with his team. That harass is so annoying. Kaiser keeps getting chunked. But you think about how Soraka is. It is technically just trading your own life for the opposition. That's just clean. Koi disengaging. Yikes. Again, it's just clean disengage. By upset. Okay, so Koi don't want to fight. If they lose the objective, they back away. They try to burst out targets early with Larson doing work. Like that. Just harassing. But the fact is, they still lose the objective. We'll probably see this fight again, and I just want you to watch Douglas's Maokai here. This is probably the most important thing to know. So, where is he? He is here. He gets pillared off and chunked by Larson. So, because he's getting chunked quite a bit, the Nature's Grasp comes out. And that essentially means all this areas belong to Vitality. So Shigenda, split from his team, he should realistically jump out the pit. He should be jumping out. He doesn't, he gets killed. Simple as. He didn't have flash, so he was stuck in there. Did he jump before this? I'm just intrigued to see if he jumped before this. So he had 11 seconds there to jump. So I'd assume it was probably on cooldown. Unfortunate. Because I would have jumped over the pit. But the fact is, you got 3 members jumping on you from Vitality. You're dead. One of which is upset. So Koi then, while trying to steal Drake, back away very smartly. Kind of a bad Azir, all things considered. But what I had noticed was Kaiser just topping up health bars. It's impactful. It means that essentially Vitality can't die. So Koi realistically should be focusing a bit more into this Soraka. This is kind of funny to me, what we're going to see. Upset is cutting off the pathway here for Malrang. He just goes, bye! So Malrang walks back in and flashes over the wall. It's a flash and a kill over to Vitality, as well as Drake. It's a losing play for Koi, in all things said. But as well as that, other items are coming through. Tiamat picked up for Zeri, already has her Hurricane, and now the game looks very weird in some regard, because Koi have gold leads across 4 members, but they don't want to fight, and Vitality seem to be winning out in them trades. Larson not going to be caught out here. He can just run away. It's not an easy chase for Vitality. They get caught out. Bot side, this is also continuing the Koi story of wanting to split push. Hullbreaker picked up for Shigenda. Now, this item used to be very prevalent when it was first added in, because teams or players just used to split, not want to deal with opponents, and threaten the map. It's a very annoying style to play against in a solo queue, that's for sure. Going up against Yoriks and Nasus's who just do that. I hate it. But yeah, it's essentially saying, we don't want to fight you. We'll poke you and harass you before a fight, but we don't want to trade with you. So the fact that we're seeing Koi take up this, I would say, more unique style for them, because they are the team that tends to want to team fight. We've always saw it as mid, comp, getting chunked out, flash forward from upset, getting rooted, not going to be able to get the kill. Malrang almost gave over a kill to upset with that pillar. But yeah, it was a good escape. Now, Larson is in danger. Because of the fact that Koi had to go protect. Oh, this is dirty. 1 TP burnt. Actually, it's 2. Because there's a second. Larson's flashed. He's getting out of this. You don't win this chase. You don't chase a LeBlanc. Blast Cone 1. He's away. Mimic. Distortion. Into a control ward for Vitality. So they know that he's been forced away. And so the fact is, watch. We're going to just go here. The fact that this is where the chase gets given up by Vitality. So, in theory, look where Vitality are, look where Koi are. Both teams, in theory, mainly Vitality, should be pivoting up to this Baron. Larson's forced away. He thinks he's still being chased once this Scryer's Bloom gets popped. And so, because he sees that, he's forced into a back away pattern Vitality should all be rushing up to this Baron to start it. Because Larsen's gonna be late. He's not very high on mana. He has got TP, so you're gonna get his sums like fully burnt if you start it. But Koi also are in the area. Trundle's there. But the rest of them aren't near at all. They're looking to back up. Look where Lulu, look where Nara's. They're looking to back up Larsen. So, in theory, Vitality should have gone to Baron here. And started this up. And it actually looks like they do. Look. You've got them two there. But Upset's nowhere near. Perks isn't near. And Vitality gets spotted out. It's a misplay. A huge misplay by Vitality. Because they could have taken a substantial gold lead here. And or burnt summoners from Koi. Because we've already said Koi do not want to fight. Koi are just looking to chip trade with you. And then split push. So, starting the Baron there would have got Vitality something they wanted. Koi on a silver platter. I can't stress this enough. This is a huge misplay in terms of the game state by Vitality. Now Koi feel comfortable just setting up vision for the next Drake. They're not threatened by Vitality. And so, Shigenda goes down bot. He's got TP. He can go up there. He can also play safe with Flash. This is what I wanted to see about 20 seconds ago. Maybe longer. TP burnt already. By Koi. Second TP very late from Shigenda. Burnt. And Vitality get the sums they wanted. Could have been done sooner. But, yeah. Koi really should just be backing up here. Go back to splitting. And in fact, Comp has already done so. So yeah, Koi are actually doing this quite smart. So yes, they lost TPs in their split push threat for the next minute 20. Or whatever time, I forget what it is, it's like 120 seconds. But they lose that for that period. But it's now pushing in mid-wave, meaning you get pressured to go towards Drake. Which Comp's going to do on his own. Comp can solo this. And Vitality smartly go back onto the Drake, knowing full well Comp's on it. Not Drake, Baron, knowing Comp's on it. So they're looking to try and go for it. Shigenda's caught out against Upset. In fact, it's a 2v1. Because Perks is here, Upset's here. Shigenda's basically dead. But he gets away. Upset and Perks don't overchase the hull breaker. Nah. So, on the side, Shigenda's building up his mega. Now, Vitality look to chase out Shigenda. They know he's got a flank. They know he's in their jungle. Kaiser spots him. So now, Vitality just are looking for him. This is the issue though. Because Upset didn't continue to chase round, because Perks didn't continue to chase round, they're running straight into Koi. So, Perks gets 2 flashes out with his Sand Soldiers, but now he's being killed off by the Koi members. It's simple as. Shigenda, buying time, is going to mega out here. He gets it there, stuns up the Renekton, so he's not going to be killed off quite quickly. Turns its attention to Soraka, who won't have any damage. Great Mega Gnar out. Perks is dead on one side. Larson kills him. Upset's now trading. He's killed off by the Moonlight Vigil Calibrum. That's the name of it. And now it's a Koi 1 fight. Because they skirmished in bad situations. Bear in mind, Koi are the team that don't want to fight you. But if you split up into these situations where it's like lane phase, where it's a 1v1 or a 2v1, Koi will always win that fight. And so now that they've killed off two members, the two big damage dealers for Vitality, Koi can turn around, see the dumpster fire that is Vitality, get themselves Baron, and threaten the game. It's as simple as that. They got themselves Soul Point as well, thanks to Comp just sticking on it. And what can Vitality do from this point? Because this is just a terrible fight, all things considered. We didn't focus in on Gnar, but look at how much space he's buying. I'm also going to do something real quick to just show something to you. Hullbreaker. This item is very, very annoying. You get bonuses if you're nowhere near things, namely bonus armor and magic resist. It's huge. In this regard, the fact that Shienda basically has Hullbreaker active for the majority of this means he's very, very bulky. So he's taking extra damage. And the fact is he's still so far away from the rest of his lineup. He's just very hard to deal with. He's just walking at them. A great Gnar. He's just buying time with three members. It's a 3v1, while the rest of his team's in a 4v2. He wins, because as soon as Upset goes over, he's like, hi! Bye! And yeah, while he does die, because of the amount of extra stats he had through the entirety of that fight, he was just able to outduel a lot of what Vitality wanted to do. And you have to think that's kind of a misplay on their behalf for how they pivoted to protect their carry. They weren't even protecting their carry. It's how they pivoted, basically, was just so poor. And as such, Koi just punished them. It was clean by Koi. Very poor from Vitality. Now, Koi's split push threat becomes even more threatening because of the Baron. You think Hullbreaker plus Baroned up minions is just so hard to deal with. LeBlanc can just sit back and let the waves push on her own. She can probably dive forward once, hit the static shiv proc, and then go back. This mid turret's been up for so long in regards to the Azir turret. Perks has done a good job there in keeping pressure, but the fact is, Larson's just able to walk up to hit any minion wave. Twisted Advance comes forward. It's going to be Shirelia's prop, but you can't get in onto an Aphelios that has a Lulu right behind him. Now inhibitors are falling. Larson just continuing to harass topside. Mid lane is being pushed in by the Trundle. Just gonna get himself tier 2. The structures of Vitality are just falling without any contest. And they can't really contest because they can't get their dive off because the other side of the map is just being threatened. This is just a clean 1-3-1 comp by Koi that's showcasing a different style to what we've seen from them all year. And it's very dominant. Like, Vitality had opportunities in this game to fight, but Koi just did not allow them to. There's the first skill of fight. Douglas is out of it because he dove headfirst into an Aphelios with white gun. It's also green gun, so he's just going to slice his way through the turrets. This game's over. Koi just dominant from start to finish. They didn't cede a gold deficit this entire game. They controlled it from minute 1. This was clean. If you think about, yeah, they gave over 1 or 2 kills in topside, and that made Douglas and Photon look more scarier than they were. But the fact is, Koi just were able to split push constantly, pull Vitality across the map in such an effective manner that Vitality just looked useless. I hate to say it, but they weren't team fighting effectively. They couldn't get in on a target, and that certainly meant that Koi just were able to play to their win con. That ending, the fact is that there wasn't any full 5v5s other than the one we got around the Baron. But even then, that was mainly skirmishes across 2 different areas. Koi played well. I have to say it, Koi played well. And I'm hoping this is the form we see for them going into groups, if they qualify, obviously. They've got today and tomorrow to do so. But yeah, that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. It's a bit of a change to look at a split pushing game instead of something else. But yeah, that's going to be it. Thanks for joining me. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new or if you want to. I'll see you guys for the predictions for the groups.